Welcome back from the final break of the day. As we get into this fourth match, it is going to feature two teams that have really, I would say, struggled to find their footing with the roster changes that they made between stages. And Tanner, let's start with Vipers Esports, because they had a lot of promise coming in last stage for the first time. We knew it's a long shot, if not impossible, to make playoffs, but we thought, hey, if anyone could do it the way that they were making strides last stage, it could be this team. It's not looking that way so far, as they are 0-2 to start it off.
No, I think they're one of the teams that got hurt by the roster moves the most. I think losing Dexter, who is obviously a star player, and we're seeing him do very well right now on Mirage, was a big impact loss for them, as well as losing Butters, who's been a core back-end support player that's been working really well with Filthy for a while. Losing him, that kind of basically takes apart their back end and their front at the same time. Now, I do like the people they picked up. I mean, they picked up Poison, and Poison's been an excellent IGL when he was playing on Nocturnes, and they picked up Creators, who's one of the most mechanically gifted players I have seen. Now, he has taken a step away from the game, so maybe that has diminished a little bit, but when he was in his prime, you know, Creators was a nasty shot. And I have Twist highlighted as one of the as my player today, namely because they put him on a role change. If you recall, in stage 2, he was playing the hard breach role, and he was playing it well. I would say he was an impact player every single game that Rent Free played. But since Poison came along, they put him on the hard breach role instead. And now Twist, he's struggling out the gates. He's not really putting up these big numbers that we're used to him seeing, and he's not able to really find his footing, which I think is a big reason why Vipers hasn't really had the success that they needed throughout this stage.
Now, Aqualix has played one more game, and the difference is they have one win, which Vipers has not been able to yet. But Aqualix, Connor, this was like a forefront team, and now they are at risk of missing out on the playoffs.
Yeah, it's really rough because I think people like Afer and Psychosis, they pulled out their phones and they started sending those late night texts towards Gasher of OMG, I miss you. Please come back, baby, because he's prospered over towards TSM, and what we thought might have been a good replacement in the form of Penguin doesn't seem to have panned out quite as well. However, this is the early bit of a stage, and we don't need to ring alarm bells this much too early, especially when you have sort of just an overall idea change and shift with a new IGL, the inclusion of hat and role changes like what Tanner was mentioning with Twist, happening to Afer, who was on the entry last stage and now is taking a little bit more of a flex, almost supportish role where he seems to be doing a little bit better.
So now Vipers, as you were saying, Tanner, there is a ton of talent on this team. It's not, or it's undeniable. It's just about finding the best ways to utilize that talent and where to slot them in. And it feels like they're either not in the right slots or haven't adopted their new slots quite yet.
I mean, it just feels like other than one player on their team, everyone else is really struggling out the gates to kind of put up numbers that are helping the team. Actually, I would say almost everyone is struggling at the team. First thing they need to figure out for this game is they need to figure out how to attack. I believe they have a 20% win rate on one map and a 17.5% win rate on the next map, giving them an 18.5 win rate overall. It's just not looking all that good. And then secondly, I'm just going to read off some stats here. Filthy, Maxley, and Creators need to start showing up. Filthy and Maxley combined over both games have a combined 5.5 kills per game. There's 12 rounds in the game. That's not good at all.
No.
And then Creators, he's just getting dominated on his entry picks. He's won 1 out of 4. That's 20% of his entry engagements that he's doing. He's just losing. And as a result, they're just not getting anything done on attack. There's not enough kills going around. They're getting picked off one by one, and they're not really having a very strong conversion ratio on any of the entry kills that they do get. I think they're at 33% overall when they do get an entry pick. So there's fundamentally, this team is not killing enough people, and they need to step it up in that aspect.
Now, you know, similar issues, Connor, over on the side of Aqualix, except I will say this. With the pedigree that someone like Penguin brings in with his experience in CL and PL, you'd have to think that they are poised to break the mold first.
Yeah, they definitely can, but one of the worrying things for me was how are they going to bounce back after a very, very poor last week where they won, I believe, 4 or 5 rounds across 2 games. That's not good for them by any standard, and they actually brought on a performance coach to, you know, come in on scrims and really have like maybe a psychological evaluation and overall just trying to keep the mentality of these players strong. And I think that might actually help push them out of the edge. I know players like Psychosis and Afer, they do kind of get in their own heads sometimes. If they start off hot, they're going to end hot. If they start off slow, they're going to end slow. And if you can really mitigate that impact, this team might be firing a little bit more on all cylinders. Now, for my second point, this is where we might have the most mid-off of mid-offs across two different teams, because Aqualix, their defensive win rate is 21%. That's abysmal. Vipers, their attacking percentage is 18%. That is also abysmal. This is the worst defensive team against the worst attacking team, and so for that half is not necessarily going to be fun, and Aqualix need to change something up. And if they're going to find success, it's going to be against the weakest attacks. You know, you got to play confidently, you got to instill some fear into some opponents, get loose, get creative, get wet like water, get up in their face, and hopefully find some success that way.
Well, it poses a philosophical question. What happens when a stoppable force meets a movable object?
Exactly.
Something has to happen. Tanner, let's go to the map veto. And I think this is interesting because we normally praise Aqualix on their map pool, but things are up in the air right now.
I mean, right now there hasn't really been a much showing from either side in terms of their map pool. I think for both teams, they kind of overestimated what they were capable of in terms of how they want to attack it with the new roster. I think for both these teams, they're kind of looking for something a little bit simpler. I'm thinking Clubhouse or Oregon, which happens to be the last map. I promise I didn't look ahead for that. But Oregon and Clubhouse is the perfect map for both these teams. If they're struggling on attacks, if they're struggling on defenses, they want to go to a map that's an equalizer like Oregon, and it'll kind of give them the opportunity to kind of like, okay, we know where everyone's going to be. We know what our role is. We know what our responsibilities are. People have been attacking these maps the same way for a long time. And it's just about who can bear down on their fundamentals to have success will be the team that comes ahead today.
Was this, Connor, I guess, the predictable map choice? We'll have the, speaking of predictions, well, unpredictable. We've got a split here.
Ooh, look at that 80%.
Two teams that are really trying to find their place, and Tanner was kind of touching on this. You don't want to throw another wrench in the mix and go to, let's say, a skyscraper where it could be absolute hell for two teams that are still trying to figure themselves out. I think it's both teams almost. You think it's like a firm handshake of let's just do Oregon, please.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be the case. And probably the biggest thing for me is kind of in my mental notes for Vipers is every single time we see them play, it's like they should be able to click in just like another week. They need another week of scrims. And overall, we just haven't seen that yet. However, with Aqualix, we have seen some flashes of brilliance come out in that first game against an aerialized team that has looked very, very good. So that's the sort of win that's aging like some fine wine. It's slowly getting better and better. Even if it was a messy overtime win that you could argue maybe should have gone the other direction, I still think the Aqualix have shown a more proven game on an equalizer map, which can, a lot of these overall ideas can be applied directly to Oregon today.
So between two teams, Tanner, that for all intents and purposes, through the stage at least, not through the year, but through this stage, seem to have similar storylines. What is the difference between these two teams? I mean, you've got Vipers there. What is giving them the edge over an Aqualix?
I mean, I've got Vipers just because I know the capabilities of their gunners. I think they're very underrated. I think players like creators, you know, maybe struggle with the meta, struggle with some of the newer maps. You take him to a map like Oregon, where he's going to be able to understand because he's played this when he was a professional player himself. He's going to have a lot easier of a time. I'm going to be honest with you, though. This is kind of a coin flip. I think Connor alluded to it earlier. This is kind of a mid-off between these two teams. Neither team has really demonstrated to us so far the stage that they're proficient in the game right now at a competitive level. So right now, going to an equalizer map, this could honestly go either way. It's a 50-50 for me.
Is that what you're thinking, Connor, as well? Like, toss up. Do we see overtime, Connor?
We potentially could, because guess what? It's an equalizer map, you know, 4-2 splits, 3-3 splits can easily be achieved by both teams in either direction. But for me, I think that this is still going all the way. It's going the full distance, but I think in regulation. I don't think we're going to see overtime. I think one of these teams are going to be stepping up. And for me, and as well as you, Brim, we think it's Aqualix. That's where we're going, the wet like water boys. So I think 7-5 is a pretty reasonable expectation for them to go for. It'll still be a good showing by Vipers, but just slightly edged out.
Well, this is potentially a make or break moment for both of these two teams. We're going to get into the matchup now. We're going back to Oregon for the second time today to watch the final matchup. It's Aqualix taking on Vipers.
You know, Jonah, the show hasn't barely started, and I've already got a hard disagree with Connor. The worst attacking team versus the worst defending team. I think this is about to be incredibly entertaining.
It could be. It could be, because like they hinted at, it could be incredibly competitive. And when you get, you know, a close game, even with teams that may be missing a beat here or missing a beat there, it can still be a lot of fun to watch. It doesn't always have to be clean, perfect Siege every time. Get a little bit dirty, get a little bit nasty, and it can be a great time to actually watch and see how it plays out. But I am of the belief that this one, rather than being overtime super close, this feels more like a series where somebody is gonna just end up being the better team today. Maybe not in the long run, but these two teams, one of them is bound to step up and jump out to an early lead. At least that's kind of my gauge on it. But who knows? Because we've still got to get through our operator bans to figure out exactly what we're going to see.
And Aqualix will be banning Ying. Interesting, because they really don't want to deal with those E-Box hot drops that we usually see from Yings on this map. I was going to say, too, like, watching teams that aren't doing great play against each other, you know, usually it's just super chaotic and super fun. But we're also on Oregon, so it might just suck. We'll have to see. I do my faith, though. I do have a lot of faith because this is Penguin versus Poison right now. This was before your time, Jonah. But this is an old T3 standoff right now.
Okay. So we got something more at stake here than just some CL Stage 3 points between these two teams. Maybe a rivalry that goes back. These teams
the better IGL that starts with P.
Right, exactly. Who is the PIGL to lead their team to victory? You never know. And obviously, Penguin, he has definitely a bit more of a resume, but can he lead this team? It's not always about the leader. It's often about the people that surround them and how they're able to work with each other and the chemistry that they're able to form. That could certainly come into effect, especially on a map like this, where both teams and everyone in this lobby should know it like the back of their hand. They should know it very well, and they should be able to come out firing, regardless of which side it's on. Everyone knows this map, everyone knows how to play it, and they also kind of know what to expect from their opponents.
All the way upstairs. Aqualix will stretch. This might be... Ooh. I'm thinking, is this a slightly adapted Parabellum roam? The main difference right now that I see is that Beastly is not alone on site like Kool-Aid would have been. He's got Afer for support, but there are still 3 players off site. One of them being the Azami, who is incredibly self-sufficient. Hat is on the top floor. Penguin is probably roaming around trying to support, either whichever one needs him more at the moment. Angled grip on the MP5 as he shoots at a drone, darts back just as the shots come out, and it looks like Psychosis will come in for the assist, but gets spotted by the drone as well, which they... did they not end up shooting it?
I don't think so. The assist from Psychosis, I think it was more so just to prevent that swing from actually coming in. Penguin was in a bit of a pickle. Had somebody chosen to swing that doorway or just walk down tower stairs. Another example of if you don't have support from your teammates, things can go downhill pretty quick. Psychosis not even able to support all the way on that tower stairs position, so Vipers are able to secure that bit of control, at least for a moment. Afer actually steps back up the tower stairs, one of the 2 players remaining on the bomb site, and while doing exactly what he needs to do, holding off any early aggression from actually bearing any fruit.
That was actually pretty impressive from Afer, so keeps the man count under control. Vipers will continue to clear the middle floor, simultaneously droning out the basement. Creator sees the shield and elbow. He spots Afer playing barrels as well. And Hat will start to move. Off the top floor, looking for a flank. There's a couple attackers in and around the stage and meeting, but Hat decides that he's not going to have anything to do with it. Better to default back to site, consolidate with his team, heading towards the last minute of the round.
Well, that minute is fast approaching. In fact, it is already here, and we need to see Vipers make something work. Because right now, it is just a waiting game. Poison will walk into the poison, the toxic smoke, taking a lot of damage as he does so. And, well, they didn't get much for it. The reinforcement has now been placed. The rotate closed up, and Afer, he is still fighting tough here in Pillar. He'll take down creators. He's going to back up eventually, but now he is still very much safe now that he's rotated away. This pressure from Vipers seems like it's too little too late, as they only have 15 seconds left, and there's a Kiba barrier in their way. They've got to just walk through this open breach. Maxley gets one, but Poison falls. Another one is found as Poison gets taken care of by the smoke. Filthy Maxley gone. A quick flurry of kills in the end. Poison getting down and then finished off by the smoke just to dig that knife even deeper. But a good defensive start there from Aqualix.
So, 3 kills from Afer and 2 from Bexdog, I believe. And Aqualix, though not having a great start, losing Penguin really early on, were able to pay Vipers back for the loss. And it really, came down to that execute. As we saw, the gas canister perfectly timed to allow Beasley to reinforce himself back into sight. And we saw the power of Azami when she is left up late in the round, completely blocking off that main doorway, forcing Vipers to funnel through the single wall again right into the gas canisters of Beastly, who ended up getting a kill with it. And Afer, how in the hell did Afer live? That guy was tucked in the corner of Pillar, just right in front of the door. As soon as he killed creators, there should have been a follow-up swing. That guy is out in the open. He has no cover. You know exactly which way he's going to be going to retreat. There was a guy on the stairs and 2 people by E-Box and Barrel Door. And nothing happened. Afer got away. Sure, some HP lost, but scot-free at the end of it. And ended up being a huge player in that defense. Ended up getting 3 kills. So I don't really know what happened there for Vipers. Their trade game, definitely not there.
Well, in round number 2, it'll be a slightly different focus for both teams because, of course, we're headed upstairs to dorms, and Aqualix can't quite run with the same extension as they did in that previous round because there is nothing above the site, and while maintaining control below the site can be good in very specific spots like security and like kitchen, anything else doesn't seem all that prudent. So that means that Vipers, as they walk in, they're going to know exactly where these defenders are positioned. And Twist, he's all the way up into kitchen. Where is the action here? Penguin, he somehow is able to escape. Twist does not capitalize on his early entry and the fact that it looked like Aqualix had no idea he was there.
Yeah, Twist. If Twist just looks the other way, he gets that kill, which is super unfortunate. If he just chooses the other option in the 50-50, it's a freebie, and they end up a man. But instead, Penguin gets away, rotates all the way back upstairs as well. Afer reinforces off Attic. There are 2 different shields for the defense to play off of as well. It looks like they knew exactly what Vipers were going to do. Both these shields set up, one for Master, one for White Stairs, where it seems Vipers really, really want to go. There's 2 people here. Creator sends up a nade, but it does not land on really anything. There's a man on big window as well, but Poison is the one with Case. And that's okay. That is him outside the big window. There was no icon. I couldn't tell for a sec. Smokes start to go out. Seems this might be the call they need to go for the execute. Lion scan follows. Poison needs some damage heading through. Gets the plant down, but Hat is right there. Where's the coverage? Nobody is in sight except for Poison. Nobody is covering the crossfires. Psychosis destroys one, slaps Filthy off the rappel, and this attack has fallen flat on its face.
Oh,
okay.
My God. Yes, it did. Psychosis, was that? I was definitely 3. Was it 4 from him?
No, 3 for Psycho, 2 for Hat.
Okay. Well, an incredible performance there, certainly, from those Aqualix defenders, but a lot of questions. about what Vipers was doing there. I mean, look at that. In the replay, we just saw it again. Poison was planting without any coverage by himself. What's that about? That's not a recipe for success. You've got the diffuser in hand and you're alone. That's already a mess. But actually going for the plant in the site when you absolutely do not have site control is a peculiar decision. It's very possible, and it's more likely that there was some sort of communication error or some sort of information error on the side of Vipers that led to that calamitous mistake, because you do not make a decision like that knowing that there's somebody around the corner and knowing that your coverage is insufficient. So despite what we know to be the leadership of Poison, something there was not right.
Odd round. Seems like Vipers, we said worst attacking team against worst defending team, but it seems like Vipers attacks need some work as well. Already down 2 on Oregon, but down 2 on Oregon, as we know, not the worst thing in the world. Oregon tends to be a little bit defender-sided, so a 4-2 half for Aqualix. Very normal. Overly normal. Penguin bringing out the Valkyrie, though. Paired with Azami and Thorn. Thorn operator we see sometimes on Oregon, thanks to its long hallways, its many staircases. Well, I say many. It's 3 staircases and the shield that the Thorn is able to bring. Hat whips out the pistol for the speed boost, gets by the cutoff on the window, be able to get back with his team.
Yeah, that'll be important, especially as pressure on the site is building rather quickly. You see Psychosis expending a lot of these Kiba barriers early on to just slow down this attack as they work their way in. Psychosis hoping to deal with these X-Kairos pellets as they were attempting to establish an angle into Attic. Small hole established, but that's not going to be enough for Vipers to really get the foothold they wanted. In fact, it's taken a good bit of time, and that time has allowed a bit of a flank to work here for Afer. He's worked his way all the way around, but now he's trapped in the corner. Nade right onto his position, but Twist nearly misses the opportunity there. Finds the kill eventually. It'll actually be Creators who supports him from the other side to return us to an even 4v4.
That was a little scary for a sec, I'm not going to lie. Knowing Afer could pull that off. But not today. At least not right now in this round. Psychosis very lit up. Penguin peeks out at just the right time, but Creators does get the refrag, unfortunately too late to save his teammate. Does leave Psychosis upstairs all alone, and he peeks right into Poison. Beastly and Hat now find themselves alone on the site. No support's going to be coming, no more reinforcements. Spots Hat, or Hat spots Twist, but he just keeps peeking and dies. That leaves it on Beastly's shoulders. He's got gas canisters still. 45 seconds left, so as a smoke main, this is perfect, as long as Vipers keep coming from the same way. They'll gas off one angle, drop the hatch into the basement. Creators is searching for him from above. Will create the watch for the top of Freezer's stairs as Beastly tries to sprint out. Creators can't catch him, but he does make the call to his team. Twist sends a nade out to cover himself as he tries to reestablish a good position. That forces Beastly off the angle, at least for now. He'll try to re-engage. Twist is holding, and Vipers take their first point.
That one, there were a couple of moments there where it really didn't look like Aqualix were fighting confidently. There were several fights that they took that just didn't make a ton of sense, especially the duel between Kitchen and Dining. Who exactly was that play? It was Hat, I think, maybe in Kitchen, who took that fight with a Dining attacker, and just a disaster ensued because Hat kept swinging, and I think it was Twist who also kept swinging, and it just kept working for Vipers. They, got the kills they needed, and despite the early start for Aqualix, it was definitely benefiting them. Vipers found a way to claw that back, no problem, on that tertiary objective. So something that you would come to expect, right? That's a very tough site to defend, so not shocking that Vipers took it. Maybe the way they took it was a little bit unusual, but overall, 2-1 the scoreline at this point is not unexpected at all. Aqualix heading back downstairs to see what they can do next time.
Basement was a very strong site for Aqualix last time, albeit in part due to Afer getting away with highway robbery. But again, we have a Roam, Psychosis, Penguin, and Hat being the 3 upstairs. Penguin got entry picked probably much quicker than he would have liked in the previous attempt of this site. And knowing that a Roam is coming, Vipers will try to adapt by bringing a Jackal.
Ooh, spray here from Creators as he tries to get things established. The combination of the Jackal and the Lion should be pretty lethal when it comes to that Roam clear. You'll be able to flush out that defender with the Jackal and then ping them repeatedly while they're on the move with the Lion if you combine them right. You use the usually pretty good flank watch of the rest of your teammates, and there you have it. You've got a pretty good kill or several if they play their cards right. They've spotted Hat. They know exactly where he is. We saw the ping on his position a moment ago, and they probably suspect that there's somebody upstairs supporting him. That'd be right, because you've got Penguin nearby. Doesn't seem to matter, though, for Maxley. As he takes the fight, he loses it, because Hat is just built different sometimes. And Afer is eventually dropped to return us to an even 4v4, but overall a very successful Roam as Hat is able to get a double. Penguin dropped away to rotate, but Hat lingered for just a moment to make sure he could get another kill.
He does get traded by Filthy, who is there for the cutoff. After the kill on Afer, the Roamers started to fall back. Penguin and Psychosis abandoned their posts, and that meant there was no one left to protect Hat. So he just becomes a casualty of war, a casualty of the strat, and we're in a 3 versus 3. Poison, the only remaining player of the 6 to have HP lost. He's down to just over half HP. That's probably about 60, 65 HP remaining. Psychosis, though, as the Azami, is still alive, and we saw last time how incredibly important that is. Now, luckily, Twist is still alive, so if there's a hard-to-deal-with Kiba barrier in the way, he can just sledge it. And there, no trouble there. But that requires him to actually get down to the bomb site and help his team with the execute, which they only have 45 seconds now left to do.
He'll work his way around in Freezer right now while the other 2 attackers approach from the laundry stairs. But right on cue, Twist is taken care of. Nade still in pocket, reaching hammer. Unable to be used for the rest of this round as your sledge is no more. That's going to inspire Filthy to rotate around towards Freezer to make sure they have that crossfire still established with 20 seconds to go, but that is wasting a good bit of time. And Filthy walks out into 2 defenders staring right at him. Poison now. Last player standing in a 1v3. No time remaining. Smoke still choking him off, and he's got to push into several unknown angles, and he'll walk right into Psychosis. Another basement defense for Aqualix that they will take relatively easily.
Another 3K for Psychosis as well. You know what's really interesting? So far, of the 3 rounds that Aqualix has won, only 2 people have gotten kills. In round 1, it was Afer and Beastly for all 5. Round 2, it was Psycho and Hat. And round 4, it was Psycho and Hat again. So, Aqualix have gotten, as John likes to say, a buddy ace in all 3 rounds they've won. It's been interesting. Not something we see every day. But that last round, I mean, again, masterfully played Roam from Hat, who was just hitting all his shots. Sure, he was kind of left out to dry, but at that point, what can you do? The anchor game, really impressive from Aqualix as a whole, and Psychosis in particular, holding down Freezer. The Kiba barriers, perfect, flawless. Nothing the attack could do about them. So, 3-1 Aqualix. We move on to dorms. Another site that they took pretty handily, except I feel like that was, in part due to Vipers having a bit of a weird execute.
Well, on this site, they've also had some difficulties, right? Like you said, it was the weird execute that got them into trouble. So hopefully they'll be able to tidy things up and maybe go with a little bit more of a composed default execute to win this one. Twist, oh my, spotting out one of those more aggressive defenders on the other side of the wall. That's Penguin, who attempted a swing there for a moment before backing off to the relative safety of security and the hatch to drop down towards Freezer if he needs to do that. But right now, the pressure not quite all the way there yet. So he'll bide his time, shoot a couple of drones, and then drop away the moment he's spotted. So he's going to make sure to stay safe. He is in a little bit of a dangerous position now because being in the basement makes you slightly vulnerable without any support from your team. But his Vipers have not quite entered the building in earnest just yet. He should be fine to rotate back up and get back towards that top floor eventually. So while he gets himself to safety, the rest of this Vipers team will work their way up and begin to make some pretty good progress.
Already starting to climb the white stairs. Maybe hoping to get a little farther up there this time so they can actually cut off Hat should he go for the swing around the kid's door. Because that's what really punished them last time. A very easily deniable position, but it was a good job to Aqualix for not only getting the swing off in the first place, but also making sure that the attackers could not push up white all the way to deny said swing in the first place. Twist gets caught staring at the ceiling by Psychosis. So the first kill found by the defense, knocking off a very important set of nades. You've only, well, I said you've only, but you've got the other two, Glaz notwithstanding, still in play. Maxley's got one left. Creators with both in pocket. Poison takes a bit of damage outside big window. And Vipers being a lot more tentative about this push this time, but Creators gets the lead-off kill for his team on the Aether from below. Hat taking a lot of damage from the big window, but Maxley still cannot push up white because of the gas canisters, but the other one, meant to deny the plant, will miss. Poison's not being hit. Creators another kill, finishing off the low HP Hat. Poison coming off the plant gets two. And Psychosis, he's now alone. The execute working wonders for Vipers because of that gas canister.
Big miss there for Aqualix. Inches away from doing exactly what they wanted, but also inches away from complete disaster. And that's exactly what we just saw there. So close to denying that plant, to choking out that attacker, forcing that attacker then to run into the open and expose themselves, but instead safe in the corner. And unfortunately for Aqualix, they realized that about 3 seconds too late. As the plant was still stuck in the smoke, eventually Penguin realized, wait a minute, the smoke must have missed, and then tried to do it the good old-fashioned way by face-checking the angle and taking the gunfight. Unfortunately for him, the bomb had already been planted, so Poison hopped up and got that kill regardless. And even though he was able to skirt by the coverage on the double window, again, because the bomb was down, that player was able to take the gunfight and win. Maybe had Penguin realized it 2 seconds earlier, he would have been able to run across under the cover of smoke and deny the plant before the time actually ran out. But unfortunately, he was a little too late, and Vipers will pull it off. Only one round away from tying us up, but at the very least, already accomplished exactly what they set out to do on the attacking half. They got their 2 rounds. Any more from here on would be a bonus.
Kind of wondering where Penguin's C4 went. Did he have a bulletproof? Because he could have just chucked a C4 in, and that would have done the job. But yeah, either way, much better attack from Vipers. And guess what, Jonah? Poisoning Creators got a buddy ace. So
there you have it.
4 rounds, one off of a buddy ace so far. That's pretty interesting. Aqualix will now bring Warden, trying to counteract the smoke play from Vipers, but as you can see from the lineup, they're no longer going for that push. Failed once, they tried it again, it worked, and they will no longer be running it, as Hat, completely caught off guard by the Iana, despite hearing the shots, still loses the fight. At least Aether's there to equalize, and they make sure that there's no man advantage for Vipers.
Yeah, keeping things even in this 4v4, now that a minute has transpired. Creators taking a bit of damage there, likely from the smoke. Penguin as well, tempting the swing, trying to find some traction in this map as a whole. Only 1 kill for him right now, hoping to get something going and really establish a foothold in this server, because right now it is not happening for him. It's not happening for Beastly much either, as they're just trying to support their team. But man, it would be good, I imagine, to get on the scoreboard and contribute in a big way in terms of frags. On the Vipers side of things, it's relatively even. Everyone contributing a similar amount, 2, 3, 4 kills, but nothing crazy. like Psychosis or Afer has with 7 and 5 kills respectively, but still, a lot of utility to use in this round, not just fragging power, as we see these Kiva barriers playing a very significant role once again.
Gonna be tough for Filthy to try and push down Attic. Psychosis playing here. Oh my god! Did you see that? The
fadeaway
impact play from Psychosis, destroying his own Kiva to get the kill. Beautiful. That puts the man advantage in Aqualix's corner. For a follow-up on Creators, though. Penguin goes down from a nade. Another kill in from Twist as he takes Attic control. Beastly taking a lot of damage. And now everyone on the defense faded off towards White Stairs. But does Vipers know it? Looking for the downed Penguin. They'll finish him off. And now they should know the coast is clear. But up comes Afer. Another down. Twist gets picked up by Poison, though. Back on a 2 versus 2. Plant maybe going down. Poison thinks better of it, decides to reposition. Both players from Aqualix on opposite sides of the site. Looking to pinch in. Beastly, no more gas. He goes down, but Afer's looking for the planter, hunting for Poison, but he's too late. It goes down. Pistol out, gets one. All he's got to do is land a single bullet on Twist, who's hunting for an ace of his own. They're both so low now as Afer takes damage, and Twist gets the kill, besting Afer in the angle play as the Aruni tries to bait the defuse, but Vipers come away with an even half.
No idea how the Vipers were able to spin that around and take it when it looked like Aqualix had it handily at the 15-second mark. But a couple of well-timed nades. We saw the down onto Penguin, and a really calculated push towards Attic really did the job. Obviously, Twist did it all. The ace on the round, but great work pushing in as a unit. I mean, towards the end of the round at least, not in the early round where they started to struggle and lost some bodies, but in the end, they got it together. Twist stepped up in a huge way, and just as I said, there hasn't been one standout player on the side of Vipers Esports. There goes Twist, getting all 5 kills to tie us up at 3-3 going into the switch.
We've graduated from the buddy ace to the true ace. Really well done from Twist, and we swap sides. Vipers on the defense, they will immediately bring the Mira into play. Something that Aqualix did not even use once. We've got a nice variety going on now. Capitao, an interesting operator as well. We used to see him a lot on Oregon. Back in the old Oregon days. Remember those, Jonah? Were you around for that?
Old Oregon days? I played, but I didn't ask.
Ah, okay. So you were around for the old Mira closet and, you know,
oh, yeah.
the Capitao that thus came out to try and counter it. Could see a similar idea because of the Mira being played.
I mean, yeah, logical conclusion here. Of course, everyone's got to survive at least, the Mira and the Capitao, in order for that little scuffle to occur. And Maxley seems content to take early gunfights, stepping out and ripping into Penguin, leaving him at just a sliver of HP remaining. I mean, Beastly, speaking of the Capitao, not even in the building yet, just supporting his team right now, throwing a couple of drones in while the rest of the team works their way on up. But precarious to move their way on up, of course, because there are several Vipers defenders putting a lot of forward pressure here into this attack. We saw Maxley do it first, then it was Twist and Creators on the other side, but it looks like finally, at about a minute 15 into this round, all of those defenders have backed off to relative safety. Still looking for one player upstairs is Aqualix, trying to hunt anyone down, but I think they're relatively good to go. They've got the roam cleared down. Now they've just got to transition this into an execute.
There's actually still 2 people on this first floor. So after the defaulted roam, Creators, or Twist came back up the stairs, so he's kind of supporting Filthy here, who's still there, but Afer just catches him, and Filthy goes down, and that is our opening pick in round 7. Penguin looking for an angle through the floor and through the wall onto Twist, but not able to connect with any shots. Losing Filthy, a big blow considering he's one of 2 C4s, but still only a minute remaining for Aqualix, and the Mira windows still stand.
Penguin's got a nice angle to work with here, but Twist reads into that beautifully and somehow sees Penguin before Penguin saw him. ends up getting the down. No chance to get the finisher, though, because Penguin is all the way up top. So while it may take some time, he'll be able to get picked back up. And he remains in this fight as we cross that 30-second mark. 5v4, Aqualix with the edge, but it's not much of one. The time on the defensive side, HP on everybody but Penguin is full, but now things are starting to change up. The smoke coming in, the execute pouring into the site, but it is lighting up all blue. Creators back-to-back kills. Maxley tacks on for another 8 seconds left. Beastly and Psychosis, they're not even sorta making progress here. The smoke choking out Beastly, downing and finishing him. Psychosis, last alive, can do nothing about it. Aqualix tried to push in the end, but they simply waited too long. Vipers take the lead for the first time.
Like you said, too much time. That didn't make any sense. Too much time being taken by Aqualix on that initial roam clear. Leading into that execute, they tried going for, you know, your old freezer laundry split, but by the time they went for it, Vipers were in the perfect position. Sure, they're down a man, but with a gas canister, isolating Psychosis and Beastly, thereby isolating your case, means that Aqualix is going for an unsupported freezer push. As they try to move in, Maxley gets one pick. They are looking desperately for the refrag, and Creator swings in from the freezer door and lines up both. He ended the round with a 3-piece. Vipers have certainly climbed back. 3 rounds in a row, continuing from their defensive side. Now Aqualix, you said it, they're not a very good attacking team. We've got to try and string something together as we see more interesting op picks. Maverick has come back into the fray.
Yeah, first time I think we've seen Maverick today. Period. Yes. I mean, even, I don't know how much of the first 2 games you got to catch, Harrison, but I don't think we saw Maverick a single time
did not.
there either. He was banned in the first map and just not played in the second. So exciting to see him come out here and exactly what Aqualix are hoping to do with him. You've got ample hard destruction when you bring out those X-Kairos pellets, one would think. But you're instead combining the Thermite with the Maverick and hoping to do things, well, another way. Hat will pick up the opener. That went on to Twist, so it's not the Maverick necessarily to make the early impact, but a good start for Aqualix nonetheless.
Where was Twist? Let me see. Was he there? I don't see his thingy, like the little icon you leave when you die. Oh, there it is. Okay, I see it in the corner by the. Oh no, it's over there. Never mind. My eyes are seeing things. Okay, so he tried. Oh, he tried going for the satellite peak. Clearly, that was ready. So you lose a man, but we saw Aqualix take the opening pick last round as well, and well, things didn't really go as planned because they took too much time. We're already about a minute and a half in. Aqualix have breached the main wall. Now they're just utility clearing in sight to make way for that execute. So it looks like things are coming a little faster this round.
Yeah, Aqualix ready to step up and get something going. Honestly, at a moment's notice, once they get this wall open, which looks like they've done already, they can really begin hypothesizing how they want to make this push, right? They can get that crossfire established in Trophy. They can start to get some kills flooding in as they'll down Maxley, but not quite able to get the finisher. Afer actually taken care of, and Penguin before Maxley could be fully secured. So technically it's a 4v3, if not a 3v3, now back even. There goes Beastly, though, walking in on his own. A triple for Creators. Psychosis finishes off Maxley, and that's something, but it's a 3v2, favoring the defense all of a sudden, and this diffuser has to be recovered still.
I don't know what the idea was for Aqualix. They know where Creators is at after those kills, and still, Beastly just kind of walked on through. Psychosis finally shuts him down, looking for more on White. He'll get the kill. 3 for Psychosis. They brought the round back. They still got to take care of Poison. He deals so much damage to the sledge, but can't finish him off. The plant is going down from Hat. The shotgun is out and gets the kill. Hat knows he's got to go for it. He's just 1 HP. Poison doesn't have to push. He misses the shot. Just pre-fire Hat. But he doesn't pull the trigger at all. Vipers end up taking the round. They steal it from Aqualix.
I mean, there were about 4 different instances where I thought a different team was going to win that round in that single round alone. I mean, we started off with Aqualix taking the advantage, and then they squander it by walking in and allowing creators to dust them. Vipers then take the advantage, but then it becomes a 2v1. Hat makes it work, but then Poison just whips out the shotgun and does the rest of the work himself. Exactly what you expect from the clutch IGL. And he made it work. 5-3 Vipers. Not only have they tied it up when down 2 rounds early and got us to that 3-3 half, they've then taken the next 2 rounds in a row and now have a 2-round lead clear of Aqualix so far.
Eating creators over and over. And then 2, why did Psycho push Poison? Hat's getting that plant down. Just hold the angle. There's only really one direction you need to watch. They know he's kids. Just sit there and you can just sit there and trophy. You can sit there on the breach. You didn't have to push, and he did. So, moving on to round 9. Tertiary site coming out for the second time in this entire map so far. First time it was played was by Aqualix, and they lost it. Vipers are going to see if they can one-up the opposing team. And with creators Twizzed and Poison shooting like they are right now, they probably got a pretty good chance. The only people on Aqualix really doing much consistently, at the very least, is Psychosis and Afer.
Yeah, really the only ones making much of an impact at all, actually. I mean, Hat's put up some numbers here and there, right? And had some good rounds, but yeah, for the most part, you're right. It's Afer and Psychosis leading the way for Aqualix, and they need people. I mean, they gotta step up more than this. I know in the critical points, our analysts were highlighting on the Vipers side of things that Filthy needed to start to step up, Maxily needed to start to step up, and Creators needed to really find the scoreboard. And while not all of them have done that, at least Creators is making an impact in a big way, especially in that last round. But 9 kills right now, top fragging. So doing exactly what the analysts asked for, and starting to wake up a bit and really push Vipers over the edge. And he's played a huge role in giving them this 2-round lead now. Let's see what he can do to push them over the top.
Yeah, Creators actually had back-to-back 3Ks there, and wow! Destroys Afer off the peak. Good night, Zofia. Poison, a 1-pump to Penguin, as it looked like maybe he was misdroned. Hat will get the first kill for his team, but at what cost? I was just about to mention, too, you know, we talked about those players needing to step up. The analyst that's also highlighted Twist after his role change, not really having the hottest season, but he is now stepping up as well, right there neck and neck with Creators, able to refrag his IGL, leaving it up to Psychosis and Beastly now. That's a tough shield to try and fight against, even if it's against an Ella whose gun isn't the most wieldy thing. Psychosis at least gets rid of the shield, forces Filthy back. There's got to be an Ella mine somewhere around here that Psychosis probably doesn't want to get caught in the middle of. They got info, though. Looks like they've got a ping on that player upstairs. No nades, though, from Psychosis means they'll just have to leave him alone. They've now tucked themselves in by the fridge in kitchen. Vipers doesn't really know where they've gone, but they'll finally get the info. Creator spots one, Filthy nabs the other, and Vipers shut down that attack, and they put themselves on match point.
Yeah, despite a couple of shenanigans there in the mid-round from Vipers, they had the lead the whole time, and they did not let up. 6-3. Match point now, and Aqualix, the only reasonable adjustment is to take a timeout and, you know, talk it over. Figure out what you can do on the attacking half to bounce back, but it has looked dire for them ever since the side switch. Really haven't seen a round where they've had a confident foothold. They've had chances, don't get me wrong. I mean, just 2 rounds ago, they've had a round where they looked like they were losing, and then it looked like they were winning, and then it looked like they were losing, and then it looked like they were winning again. That's the kind of flow that half of these rounds have gone. But it's just about, at the end of the day, what we see on the scoreboard. Feels a little bit closer than 6-3, maybe 6-4, something like that, but nothing crazy different, because truly, Vipers is out defending Aqualix right now. Aqualix did not do enough on their first half to get enough of a margin to be comfortable.
Real disappointing for Aqualix. They've had quite the fall from grace starting off in Stage 3. May we remind you again that they were in playoff contention. They were in the top 4. They had a pretty decent spot there, but they have since kept dropping the ball over and over again. They are now 4 points behind Aerial Arise. 4 points. More than a whole game back. If they can at least take this to OT and get a point, with the way Aerial Arise and One Shot and such have been performing this stage so far, Aqualix can almost kiss their chances goodbye. So we'll see if they have some sort of resurgence in them either in this game or the next, but either way, something has got to change. Psychosis is trying to lift the team on his back right now, but with the way Vipers is shooting, it's not enough.
Yeah, they need to step it up across the board, and right now we're just not seeing it. We're just not seeing it. Penguin, Beastly still haven't found any more kills since I mentioned that a few rounds ago. Psychosis is still making a big impact. 14 kills. Maybe that's enough this round to give Aqualix the early start they were looking for and set them up for success in this round. Could have the added consequence that Vipers feel a little bit more tentative on this roam, and they do want to drop back earlier. But as I say that, Filthy is, instead of dropping back, he is getting more aggressive, swinging once and then twice, and then instead of swinging a third time, he will back off and head down to safety.
Actually, the next to walk up the stairs, but he'll just shoot the drone and probably back off as Penguin makes the hole above laundry stairs. Twist has not completely backed off as well. He's still up there on the tower stairs. Aqualix still taking a bit of time, even though all the roamers have fallen back. They're still clearing. They're still making soft breach, like there's people in dining and kitchen. So maybe the mute jammers proving a lot more difficult to deal with than initially thought, but it seems like Aqualix have now finally gotten a clue, and they'll start setting up for the execute.
Yeah, starting to get all these hatches open, establish these angles, but Twist, that is bold. Steps up the tower stairs through the wall, takes care of Afer, and does that before the X-Kairos could detonate. Couple things, though, that make that all okay for Aqualix. One, they got the trade right away. And two, you've got Beastly with the secondary hard breach charges, those can openers, to pop open that E-box hatch anyway. So you're good to go. You've got the hatches open. Losing Afer, not the biggest deal in the world. And that's going to be very important because they still have the advantage in this 4v3 when it comes to this site push.
What they can't do, however, is use any more hard breach, because we know Afer would have still had some left after opening that hatch, but in comes the drop. Hat, you're looking the wrong way. Sorry, that was Psychosis. Doesn't know Poison's tucked in the corner. And there it is, the equalizer that Vipers were looking for. Maxily tacks on with a C4. And Vipers in a tremendous position to win. Poison exposes himself a little too much, though. Hat gets the kill. There's 12 seconds. And a C4 still with Aqualix's name on it. Gets stuck on the shelf. Maxily wraps around. Gets both. And Vipers take round 10. They destroy Aqualix. 7-3. And Aqualix fall further in the year's standings.
Looked like it was going to be a nail-biter. At that first half, I was like, you know what? The desk was right. It's going to overtime. We're going to see this one all the way through, and then Vipers just say, no. We are going to run away with this one. We are going to put on a defensive clinic and make Aqualix look silly, and that they did. Well played across the board from them when it came to that defensive side. Aqualix, they had their moments, but they did not have a single round on the attacking side. So not much you can say to redeem that. Either way, 7-3. Strong victory for Vipers Esports, and it may not have been the prettiest, but it's a nice victory to have. Get themselves going. Get themselves maybe a little more confidence for the rest of this stage, because I guess tomorrow it'll mark the halfway point in stage 3. So no better time to try to find your footing and take down what is a pretty reasonable opponent.
Yeah, and the what sucks too for Aqualix is that with Vipers getting their first win of the stage, they leapfrog them. So Aqualix are now in 8th out of 9. If Unemployment are able to get any points, or get any points before Aqualix get more, then we might find ourselves with Aqualix facing relegations or danger of relegations again, like they did in stage 1, that they avoided and bounced back from, but they've regressed a little bit. That's it for today. That was our final game. So once more, before we have more games tomorrow, we'll send it back to the desk and talk about the game.
Well, that's a wrap on the 4th game. The interesting thing here is that we kind of got that first half that we expected, Connor. We just didn't get the second half that we expected.
Yes, there were very sloppy Viper attacks, very sloppy Aqualix defenses, and the movable object met the stoppable force, and they just they neutralized to 0, because that's how that works. +5 and a -5, net 0, tied up half. But then Vipers decided, you know what? We got the proper read on Aqualix. This was 6 rounds in a row from Vipers, starting from the back half of their attacking endeavor, and then they just won defense after defense after defense, because Aqualix, they had no idea what was going on in the mid round. They would time and time again get that opening pick, and Tanner, it's something that we talked about so often, the mid round just went into Vipers with somebody stepping up.
I mean, it just seemed like every round there was some person that was stepping up in a big way. I know Poison had a couple good rounds. Creators, especially on the top floor defenses, was really big. Twist had a round where he popped off, especially that ace. Like, he had an ace in round 6. It just kind of set the tone for the entire rest of the game afterwards. It just felt like Aqualix were on the back foot. They called a very late timeout when they were already on match point. Probably should have been called sooner. And it just felt like they fell flat. Like, they just weren't able to transition any of their initial picks or any of their initial map control into a site execute, which could have resulted in a round win. Even in that last round, we saw it. Like, they're missing steps. They sent a guy to blue late. They didn't clear out the pillars player. The guy who drops down the hatch isn't clearing the Poison who shoots the pillars player in the back. It was very disjointed. There was not a lot of like info going on, and they just looked like unrehearsed. They looked unrehearsed is probably the best way to say it for a map like Oregon.
And I mean, the stats show Aqualix 7-3 on entries, and we get the exact opposite result in round wins, just not able to follow through or capitalize on any of their ventures. The one thing I want to jump back to, Tanner, when I look at, it was, I believe, round number 3, or no, round number 2, the Vipers push in, where they just like immediately pushed into top floor to go for the plant, and we're all just watching this going, what is the thinking here? Like, what is going on? And yet it's like that was their fumble of the match, and then they just became a team that was cohesive and organized from that point on.
I mean, sometimes when you make an execute, it just doesn't pan out the way you are. You know, there's a bunch of external factors. Maybe guys aren't in covering positions that they should have been. And as a result of that, you know, you can have 2 choices. You can either accept it and move forward, or you can linger on it and let it like kill your confidence the rest of the game. And I think that was a smart, not a smart decision, but it was a good choice made by the side of Vipers to just go, all right, you know what? It happens. You know, it's time to move forward. Let's accept what's inside of our control, and let's just focus on the next round. And that's what they did. And they managed to pull out a nice 3-3 half, which is doubles the amount of attack wins that they have so far this stage.
Well, you know what they've done now? With that win, they've earned themselves an interview with me, and that's the best reward you can earn in a day.
Prize. Glorious.
Maxley, congratulations. Big win for you guys. Did you think it was going to take 3 games in to get that first win?
Definitely not. It felt good to get the first win, but we should have been we should have started off stronger. It shouldn't have taken us 3 weeks, but yeah.
And did you guys, now the wins, I'm not taking away from your win. It was an impressive win, especially that 6-round streak. But were you guys expecting to all of a sudden be looking at a 3-1, going from down a 3-1 into a victory?
I mean, we knew it was gonna be rough because those guys are a pretty aggro team, and it's Oregon defense. So we weren't like we didn't lose any composure. But once we clawed up and poison clutched up and twist clutched up a couple rounds, we knew we were doing all right.
And what are some of the things I've got to ask, since this is our first chance to talk to you guys this stage? What are some of the things you guys have been working on? Is it meshing with the new roster changes? Are there other little details in your game you guys have been working on? I mean, to get a victory like this.
A few things we've been working on is like just entering together and like getting timing off, like either like it's burning for Yuta or pushing, stuff like that. And it's coming along smoothly, slowly but surely. So yeah.
Well, it must feel good to get a win against a team like Aqualix. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll be talking again, Max.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.